The evening air in Kim Mansion was unusually warm with laughter. Tae and YN walked back from meeting her friends, both still giggling about some silly thing Hyun had said. Their smiles, their easy closeness, it was like a knife twisting in Mia and Jia's chest. They sat stiff on the sofa, exchanging a quick glance that screamed jealousy. Mr. Kim, however, leaned back with a rare sigh of relief, Mr. Kim thinking, At least Tae managed to do one thing right, he found her. But Mrs. Kim sat quietly, guilt gnawing at her eyes following Tae's glowing face. She hadn't seen him so alive in years, and the realization stung more than she could admit. Trying to pull herself together, Mrs. Kim asked softly, Mrs. Kim, did you to have dinner? Shall I have something prepared? YN gave a polite smile. That's kind of you, Amma, but no need. We already had dinner with our friends. Before the warmth could settle, Jia leaned forward, smirking. Jia, you mean your friends? Hyung doesn't have any, right? Mia quickly added with a mocking tilt of her head, Mia, exactly. Who would want to be his friend? The words struck like arrows. Tae froze. He didn't argue, didn't flinch outwardly, but his silence was loud. It stung more than he'd like to admit. His eyes lowered to the floor, hands tightening around his sleeves. YN's brow arched instantly. She glanced at Mr. Kim with a sharp amusement in her eyes, an unspoken challenge. Mr. Kim caught it immediately, and his jaw clenched. Mr. Kim stern, enough, both of you. Watch your tongues. But Mia and Jia rolled their eyes in unison, muttering under their breaths. YN's smile didn't fade, but her tone cut like a blade. YN, it's not surprising, really. Real friends are hard to find, but snake friends. Her eyes flicked over the sisters with disdain. They're always on sale. That's why you both have so many. The room fell still. Jia's jaw dropped. Mia's eyes widened, burned alive in front of their father. Mia snapping back. At least YN interrupting. Calm but sharp. At least what? At least you've mastered the art of fake smiles and backstabbing whispers. Please, if loyalty was currency, you'd both be bankrupt. Her words landed like firecrackers. Even Mr. Kim's stern glare turned almost impressed. Jia and Mia sat frozen, cheeks flushed with humiliation, unable to pull a proper comeback. In rolled her eyes casually, like they weren't even worth the energy anymore. She slipped her hand into Tae's and hugged him up. YN smirking. Come on, babe. Let's leave the snakes to hiss at each other. Tae followed silently, his chest warm not from their cruelty, but from YN's fire. As they walked out, Mr. Kim's glare sliced across the twins, who shifted uncomfortably under his watch. His daughters might have rolled their eyes at him, but the damage was done. And upstairs, in the privacy of their room, Tae finally allowed himself a small, grateful smile. Taehyung room. Tae was still chuckling when YN glared at him. YN annoyed, you're their elder brother. You should have shut them up instead of laughing. Tae smirked, stretching lazily on the bed. Tae, they don't see me as their brother. YN, but you see me as everything. YN rolled her eyes, removing her lipstick at the vanity. All stupid, she didn't notice when he got up. His arms suddenly wrapped around her from behind, his lips brushing her bare shoulder. Tae low, husky, you feel like a blessing? Smiled faintly at the mirror. YN teasing, 'cause I am one. He chuckled, nestling into her neck. Tae voice roughening, and I don't deserve you. YN soft but firm, shut up, KIMTAEHYUNG, you're mine, and that's enough. That sentence broke him. He turned her roughly, pinning her against the vanity, crashing his lips onto hers. The kiss was wild, devouring, like he needed her more than air. Gasped against his mouth when his hand slid under her robe, gripping her thighs and pulling her closer. YN breathless. Tae, we're at your parents' house. Tae growling softly between kisses. I don't care. Let them know who you belong to. He lifted her onto the vanity table, her robe slipping down. exposing her skin to his hungry mouth. He kissed down her throat, sucking hard enough to leave marks, his hands roaming, kneading her curves like he'd lose his mind if he stopped. YN moaning softly, "You're crazy." Tae panting, lips against her chest, "Crazy for you, only you." She tangled her fingers in his hair, tugging when his tongue teased lower, drawing gasps out of her lips. He pulled back just enough to look at her, eyes dark, burning. Tae deep, desperate. "Say it, YN, say you're mine." YN whispering, trembling, "I'm yours, Tae, only yours." He groaned, kissing her again, harder, lifting her off the vanity and carrying her to the bed without breaking the kiss. He laid her down, hovering above, his body pressed fully against hers. Tae teasing, breath ragged, "Look at you. Glowing like this because of me. Do you even know what you do to me?" YN arched under him, pulling him closer, her nails dragging down his back. Their kiss deepened again, messy, desperate, both of them lost in each other. Every touch grew heavier, hotter, his hand sliding lower, her breath coming in shaky moans, the sound driving him insane. YN between gasps, "Tae, please." Tae murmuring against her lips, rough and needy, anything. "I'll give you everything tonight." And he did slow and rough, tender and wild, every kiss, every touch worshipping her like she was the only reason he existed. The night burned with their love, their whispers mixing with soft moans, making the walls of Kim Mansion echo with the kind of passion that couldn't be hidden. The sunlight slipped through the curtains, brushing over YN's face. She stretched, yawning, but the second she tried to move out of bed, a strong arm pulled her back down. YN half asleep, protesting, "Tae. Let me go, I need to shower." Tae muffled against her neck, voice hoarse, "No, stay, the world can wait. I can't." She turned to face him, her lips curving in amusement. His hair was messy, eyes half-lidded, but the intensity in them made her heart skip. YN teasing, "You're clingier than I thought." Tae smirking, dragging her closer under the sheets. Not clingy, addicted. Before she could reply, he rolled her onto her back, pressing his weight over her. The sheets tangled around their bare skin, the warmth of their bodies igniting instantly. YN gasping softly, "Tae, last night wasn't enough for you." Tae leaning down, lips brushing hers, voice husky, "It'll never be enough. He K." Said her slow at first, deep, unhurried before it turned hungrier. His hands roamed under the sheets, exploring her curves again, making her shiver. In's fingers fisted the sheets when his mouth trailed kisses down her throat, nipping lightly at the spots he marked last night. YN breathless, "You're impossible." Tae against her skin, whispering, "Impossible to resist you." Yes, her breath hitched as his hands slid over her, holding her close, refusing to give even an inch of space. She twisted to face him, only to be met with his playful, dangerous grin. "You're impossible," she whispered, cheeks burning. "And you're mine," he answered without hesitation, kissing her deeply, the kind of kiss that left her dizzy, lost under the covers as the morning light spilled across their tangled bodies. By the time she managed to sit up, Tae only laughed and pulled her right back. "If you want to leave, you'll have to fight me." Their laughter mixed with breathless gasps until finally she shoved him off and escaped to the bathroom only for him to follow. The warm spray of the shower had barely started when Tae's arms wrapped around her again, his lips brushing the back of her neck. "Tae," she whispered, heart racing, "this is crazy." "Crazy in love," he murmured, pressing her against the cool glass, water streaming over them both. His gaze locked with hers in the foggy mirror, raw and unguarded. Every stolen kiss, every touch under the falling water grew more desperate, more consuming until the sound of their laughter echoed louder than the rushing shower itself. The following afternoon, Tae brought YN and him into his newly shifted studio, a modern space in a tall building, sunlight pouring through the glass walls. Rolls of fabric were stacked against one side, sketches pinned to the boards, and mannequins lined up like silent models waiting to be dressed. Hyun looked around in awe. "Hyung, this is yours." Tae nodded, his lips curving in a small proud smile. "Ours now." And this, he gestured at the blank boards, is where everything begins. YN leaned against the doorframe, watching with soft amusement. She loved seeing him like this, sharp, focused, every word laced with quiet authority. This wasn't the Tae who joked under the covers or whined for her attention. This was the Tae who owned his space, who could silence a room with his ideas alone. He spread out the sketches on the table. I've been thinking of starting with something bold, timeless. A collection that reminds people that fashion isn't just clothes, it's memory. We'll call it Ethereal Echoes. Hymin blinked. Ethereal Echoes? Tae's eyes glimmered. Yes, ethereal, something delicate, almost otherworldly. Echoes, something that lingers even after the moment passes. That's what I want these designs to feel like, vintage silhouettes, modern textures. A whisper of the past, reborn in today's light. In's lips parted slightly, impressed. You're really too good at this. He looked at her with a teasing smirk. Too good for you to keep underestimating me, Hymin chuckled, shaking his head. Hyung, this is genius. I'll handle the coordination, suppliers, samples, anything you need. Just say the word. Tae gave him a rare, genuine smile. Good. Then welcome to the beginning of something big. Hymin, let's make history together. As the three of them dove into work, YN sat quietly on the sofa, her heart swelling. She couldn't stop watching Tae's sharp eyes, the way he sketched with swift, confident strokes, the way Hymin's admiration grew by the minute. Tae wasn't just building designs here, he was building trust, friendships, and a new chapter of his life. Hymin scribbled notes as Tae explained fabric choices and color palettes. Every so often, YN caught Tae stealing glances at her, his gaze softening when he found her watching. By the end of the day, the board was covered in outlines, swatches pinned neatly, and a bold header in Hymin's handwriting. Brand name, Eclat French for brilliance, radiance, the light that can't be hidden. First collection, Ethereal Echoes. YN whispered the words under her breath, smiling. Brilliance and memories, feels just like you, Tae. He looked up from his sketches, meeting her eyes. No, feels like us. After hours of planning, YN excused herself to make some coffee, leaving Tae and Hymin sprawled across the large design table. Papers, pencils, and fabric swatches lay scattered everywhere. Hymin leaned back in his chair with a dramatic sigh. Bro, I swear. I've worked under so many bosses. They all sucked. But this, he gestured at Tae's sketches. This actually feels exciting. Like I'm finally part of something real. Tae glanced at him, pretending to stay cool, but a small smile tugged at his lips. Don't get too emotional now. It's only your first day. Hymin snorted. Yeah, don't act tough. Admit it, you're glad to have me. Tae leaned closer, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. Fine, you're right. I am glad. Then he smirked. But only because you're cheap labor. Hymin threw a fabric swatch at his face. Cheap labor, my ass. You should be grateful. I could have gone anywhere. Tae caught the swatch midair, chuckling. Yet here you are. With me, something in his tone made Hymin pause. His smile softened. Yeah. I guess I am. They locked eyes for a second. The silence unexpectedly warm. Two young men, same age, different paths but sitting here. It felt like they'd known each other forever. Hymin broke it first with his usual antics. Just don't boss me around too much, okay? I don't do yes, boss. No boss crap. Tae grinned. Good, I don't need a worker. I need a friend. Hymin blinked, then laughed. Wow, did Mr. Ice Prince just say something that actually warmed my heart? Tae rolled his eyes. Don't get used to it. But his smile lingered, and Hymin noticed. For the first time in years, Tae felt what it was like to have someone on his side. No games, no jealousy, no betrayal. Just friendship. When YN came back with the coffee, she found them bickering like schoolboys, Hymin yelling, say it again, who's the cheap labor? While Tae laughed so hard he nearly knocked over the sketches, YN shook her head, amused. Looks like I'm babysitting to kids instead of working with professionals. Both boys turned in sync and yelled, "We're professionals," before bursting into laughter again. The studio was quiet, the city lights glowing through the tall windows. In had already gone home after insisting they don't stay too late, but Tae and Hyun were still there, bent over sketches and fabric samples. Hyun finally dropped his pencil with a groan. "Bro, my brain is fried. If I draw one more line, I'll start hallucinating." Tae smirked, still focused on his work. "That's because you're weak." "Yeah," Hyun threw a crumpled paper ball at him. "I just worked 7 hours straight with you. I deserve a medal. Or at least food." As if on cue, Tae pulled two instant ramen cups from the drawer. "Prepared for emergencies," he said with a casual shrug. Hyun's eyes widened. "Hyung, no wait, we're the same age, bro. You're officially my soulmate." They sat cross-legged on the floor, steam rising from the ramen cups. Hyun slurped loudly, earning a disgusted look from Tae. "You're eating like a caveman," Tae muttered. "Food is meant to be enjoyed, not judged," Hyun shot back, his mouth full. They laughed, the sound echoing warmly in the empty studio. Then Hyun leaned back, staring at the ceiling. His tone softened. "You know, I always dreamed of doing something big. But every time I thought I was close, life smacked me back down. Getting fired from Silos, not being paid, all that crap. I started thinking maybe I'm just not cut out for it." Tae's chopsticks paused midair. He looked at Hyun quietly, his expression unreadable. Then he said, "You're wrong. You just needed someone to see your worth." "I see it." Hyun blinked, caught off guard. "You mean that?" Tae nodded once. "I don't say things I don't mean." For a moment, the two just sat there in silence, the weight of Tae's words settling in. Something unspoken clicked between them. Trust. Before the moment got too heavy, the studio door burst open. "Yeah, party without us." It was Jungkook, carrying bags of fried chicken, with J-Hope right behind him holding sodas. "Food delivery is here," J-Hope sang, grinning ear to ear. Hyun jumped up instantly. "Now this is what I call real friends." He snatched the chicken like he hadn't eaten in days. Jungkook plopped down beside Tae, handing him a drink. "Hyung, Myra texted me you guys were still here." "Thought you'd starve yourselves to death." Tae shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. "We had ramen." "Ramen?" J-Hope gasped dramatically. "This man deserves fried chicken, not ramen. Ramen is for the broke days." Everyone laughed, even Tae, who usually wasn't the loudest. Soon, the four of them were sitting on the studio floor, sketches pushed aside, food containers spread out, jokes flying everywhere. Jungkook was telling ridiculous gym stories. J-Hope kept teasing him about finally having a real job. And Tae just sat there for a while, watching them. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like an outsider. He wasn't the boy with no friends, no place to belong. He was part of something real: laughter, warmth, trust. And without realizing it, Tae smiled wider than he had in a long, long time. The Lee residence was quiet and warm, filled with the faint scent of green tea. In sat across from Mr. and Mrs. Lee, who had insisted she join them for an afternoon chat. Mrs. Lee poured tea into the delicate porcelain cups, her eyes soft on Yan. "You look glowing these days, dear. Married life suits you well." In smiled politely. "It's been peaceful." And Taehyung has been very focused on his work lately. At the mention of his name, Mr. Lee leaned back in his chair with a thoughtful expression. "Focused, you say?" "I've been hearing whispers about his strategies at the new studio. Quite sharp for someone so young." YN's eyes brightened with pride. He has such an eye for detail. The way he's handling the designs, the collection, even the financial planning, it's like he was born for this. Mrs. Lee glanced at her husband, impressed. It seems Taehyung made the wisest choice for his daughter after all. Mr. Lee chuckled, shaking his head. "Wise? I'd say lucky. Men like Taehyung don't come around often. Most at his age are chasing shortcuts, but this boy, he's building something solid. He reminds me of myself years ago. YN lowered her gaze with a small, proud smile, fingers tracing the rim of her teacup. Sometimes I think he doesn't even realize how brilliant he is. He just works quietly, like it's natural to him. Mrs. Lee's voice softened, and that humility will take him even further. Mark my words, YN your husband will not only succeed, he'll leave a mark. Mr. Lee nodded firmly, his tone carrying both admiration and certainty. If the world doesn't recognize him yet, they will soon. Taehyung is the kind of man who turns every challenge into opportunity. In felt her heart swell at their words, a warmth spreading through her chest. She had always believed in Tae, even when others doubted him. But hearing it now from respected elders, from people who had seen the world, it felt different. It felt real. For the first time, she wasn't the only one who saw Taehyung's light. Others were starting to see it too.